Hi, Tina Peters here.
See, today they go after you if you're investigating that sort of thing.
Well, welcome back, everybody, to the Tina Peters Show. What's the news with Tina Peters? Well, she's being transported to Denver to an all-female facility, and I'm still amazed. Uh, I, I've said this before. I can really relate to what she's going through, not because I've been in prison or jail, but I've been in jail a lot because I used to run a jail. In Graham County, Arizona, where I was sheriff, I was, of course, the administrator of the jail. And yes, I had people hired underneath me. I assigned my undersheriff uh, the uh, the jail management, and then he had a sergeant beneath him that really did a great job. And it's the most difficult thing about being sheriff is running a jail, and it's also the biggest liability that any county has. It's just you never know what inmates are going to do, and luckily we had very very few suicides. And you know what? I've wondered that about Tina, being innocent and being in prison uh, can prompt suicide from anyone. And I don't know if that were to happen to me. I don't know how I would take it. I don't know if I could live in that every day. I don't know if I could. I have often told my family, folks, because I am on the national radar of the deep state and corrupt politicians, especially the Clintons, because I beat them at the U.S. Supreme Court. I wondered if this would have an impact on me, but I still tell my family there is nothing that anyone could say about me or expose about me or that somebody could discover about me that I would commit suicide over. I wouldn't. I wouldn't. I don't care. I would not commit suicide. So I've told them if somebody comes to you and says I've committed suicide, don't believe it. But as I try to be realistic about being in prison as an innocent person, I don't know if I could handle it. I know what jails are like. And believe me, there's not enough fresh air. There's not enough time outside. There's not enough visits with family. They're not enough. And then right after family visits you, it's very depressing. They go from there, they go to a Mexican food restaurant, which is our best restaurant in my hometown of Safford, Arizona, where the jail was. And my wife and my kids or grandkids are going to go eat at Casa Mañana or El Charro. And I'm going to sit in there with this horrible food. And yeah, I have money for commissary where you can buy chips and candy bars and headphones and so on. It's a horrible place to be. It's a horrible place to be. And I guess rightfully so. It's not supposed to be a walk in the park. It's not supposed to be fun. And people shouldn't want to go there. Well, as I imagine Tina being in prison, it came to me today. What on earth, now that she's being moved to a new facility and there's hardened criminals in there, I started imagining what the conversation between Tina and some of the other inmates would be. You know, do you remember Shawshank Redemption, the movie? I think it's an excellent movie. It showed a little bit too much cruelty and too much graphic stuff that goes on in prison, but it was pretty realistic, especially for the time of this back in what the 40s or 50s. And but there was a point when he first got to the main character first got to Dufresne, just got to prison, and some of the other inmates said, "What are you in for?" murder, but of course, but I'm innocent. He goes, well, of course you are. Everybody in here is innocent. And so he didn't really dwell on that, but he didn't want to prove it to anybody because he knew everybody in there tells the same story. I'm innocent. Okay. I know Tina Peters is innocent. But what are the other inmates going to ask her about being in prison? Hey, girly girl, what brings a cute girl like you in a horrible place like this? You don't exactly look like the tattooed prisoner ex-con that wants to find a way to bust out of here with everybody. You don't look, really, you don't look like a criminal. What's a nice girl like you doing in a place like this? What brought you here? What did you do? Well, first of all, she would probably say, well, I'm not guilty, but I don't even, do any of us know what she was charged with? Public corruption? And when she tells them what she did, well, I used to be the county clerk for Mesa, Colorado. And I got a little suspicious of the election. And so I secured the tallies. I secured the vote tallies. I secured the ballots and made a copy of that. And then you know what the other inmates are going to say right then? They're going to go, and? Okay, and oh, I hired an IT specialist, a computer specialist, so he could help me decipher some of the things that I was looking at. And I just wanted to make sure that there was no cheating. And okay, and where's no, tell us what you really did though. Tell us what they charged you with. What crime did they say you committed? And she goes, that's it. That's what I did. I I took copies of the totals of the votes. And then I hired computer specialist, an IT specialist, to go through it all for me to where I could actually tell what was up. What? That's what the other inmates are going to do. They're going to make fun of her. They're going to say, "What? That's your crime? They gave you 9 years for securing the votes?" Folks, we're all astonished by this, but she's really going to get some bewildered inmates on that. In fact, they might think that she's so perfect and pretty and prim and proper and unjustifiably in prison, obviously, that they're going to make fun of her. And she's going to take a lot of ribbing, and she might. It might even be. It might even reach the level of mistreatment to her. Probably because she being a public official, they're not going to like that. But even more that she is not telling them the truth about what she really did. The inmates are going to have a hard time dealing with that, and they're going to make sure she has a hard time dealing with being in there. It's a super sad situation that she's in, and the corruption behind this, the real crooks, are still free, and that's what really bothers me about this. How many of us have questions for the Trump administration? How many of us have questions for Pam Bondi? I keep hearing in the press and media that the Department of Justice is actually looking into her case. It asked why she wasn't allowed bond to stay out of jail until her appeal was done. I will tell you, honestly, that's not done that much. But in white collar crimes, it's a little bit more common. And that's what they would be calling this. It's a white collar crime, you know. Can anybody show me a victim? And I know we've talked about this. Remember, folks, what's mens rea? Criminal intent. What was her criminal intent? Folks, do you know what they finally came up with? The prosecutors? They finally came up with that her mens rea was to make herself famous. If any of you know Tina Peters, I'll bet you she's more like me on that. I don't, I don't care if I'm famous. I would love to be rich, but I don't care. Fame doesn't necessarily pay the bills. And yeah, I had my 15 minutes of fame, I guess. Maybe it was a little bit longer than that because I was the first sheriff in American history to file a major lawsuit against the Clinton administration, against the federal government. Folks, I'm proud to tell you that this has never happened in United States history, ever. It's happened one time. It hasn't happened but one time in 250 years of the history of America, where a sheriff sued the federal government. And again, in my case, it was the Clinton administration. This suit was filed in 1994. And we won at the United States Supreme Court, June 27, 1997. Holy moly. So that'll be this year, it'll be 28 years. I'm going to have another reunion with Sheriff Prince, who went with me to the Supreme Court. And his name is on the case more than mine. It's, if you look it up, you would look up Prince VUS. If you looked up my name and did Mac VUS, it'll come up, obviously, yes. Both our names are on the case, but his name was attached to the case. At first I thought, well, they don't want a name like Mac. It sounds like a hamburger or a 18-wheel truck. Mine, of course, is spelled M-A-C-K. And folks, you've got to look at that booklet right there. I'm holding it, shows my hand because we did the picture that way. This is the booklet. And I'm telling you, this case, look, you don't need to listen to me. I hope that you do, and especially on this show and on this network. But every American should have this case in their pocket, in their glove box, in their car, spread out all over their car, spread out all over their house. Every child in your home should have this that's 12 years, who's 12 years older or older. Every American, every patriot should have this booklet. It fits, it's very small. You can tell by my hand holding it. Fits in your back pocket, fits in your purse, almost fits in your wallet, but maybe not that small. So, folks, every single person in this country should be reading this book. And you've never seen anything like this in your life. And I've read this before, and I'm going to read it again. You want to see a place where it says that the sheriffs are the chief law enforcement officer, are the head law enforcement officer of the county? Do you want to see that in writing? I was asked that for years before I even finished reading all of this. And oh yeah, Justice Antonin Scalia, Justice Scalia wrote this case, wrote this decision, folks. That should get you interested right there. And in the introduction of the case, he talks about the issue. The question presented in these cases is whether certain interim provisions of the Brady Handgun Violence Prevention Act, commanding state and local law enforcement officers to conduct background checks on prospective handgun purchasers and to perform certain related tasks, violate the Constitution. Folks, that might sound like an innocuous assignment that the federal government is commanding us to do. I don't care what it is. I don't care if they're forcing me to play tiddlywinks every Friday evening with the inmates. I don't care. They cannot tell me what to do. And once you accept them doing something they are not supposed to do, then it never stops. And that's exactly what this was going to be. If we had lost, every sheriff now in the country would be reporting to the FBI or the BATF or a committee of congressional members. It would destroy the office of sheriff, remaining independent and accountable to the people who hire him. We, the people, in each individual and respective county, we hire the sheriff. We can fire the sheriff. And we've got a little story about that too that I'll get into in just a minute. So get this book. There's 3 for $5. Just do it at cspoa.org. There it is right there. Go to cspoa.org. Order these books. Find where that is. It's not that hard. It's right there. Paulo got it real easy. And order them. And look at the other books while you're at it and any other merchandise. And become a member of our posse while you're at it. And do you want an authentic law enforcement badge and wallet? Well, get that too. I believe that's right on the front page. And it's a beautiful wallet. I thought we had a picture of that on the front page, but maybe my staff already took it down. Welcome to CSPOA. Keep scrolling down. Keep scrolling down. We'll see where. No, I don't see the badge there right now. But hopefully you'll find that and order that as well. But they're expensive. They're $760. The Spirit of 76 with the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association. Who is the CSPOA for? Sheriffs, law enforcement, public officials, and most importantly, we the people. And there's a huge place for you to become a member. Join our posse so we can train you to help and work with your sheriff's posse. Should you be doing that? Yes. Should you have a relationship with your sheriff? Absolutely. He works for you. And who's the most important part of our government? We the people. All power and authority goes by, through, and of we the people in every county. That's the way it is, folks. So, man, I hope I don't start getting, feels like I'm getting hay fever right now. I hope I don't get a sneezing frenzy here. Somebody better wish me well on that or say a little prayer for me. That would be pretty embarrassing to start getting a sneezing frenzy while I'm supposed to be doing Tina's show. So I want you to make sure that you understand this, what Justice Scalia said, okay? And he put it this way. Here we go. It's back towards the front. Sorry, I was at the back. Okay, so here it goes. Because there is no constitutional text speaking to this precise question of whether or not the federal government can commandeer or command the sheriffs of every county in this country or parish, the answer to the Cleos, he's talking about us, the 2 sheriffs that are mentioned in the Supreme Court case, Sheriff Mack and Sheriff Prince. It actually doesn't call us sheriff when it talks about who's on the case. It just says our name, Richard Mack and Jay Prince. And wow, okay, that's fine with me. But the next one, he says, the answer to the Cleo's question, that's Prince and me. We are the Cleo, C-L-E-O. We are the chief law enforcement officer. Is the FBI the Cleo? No. Is Congress the Cleo? Is the governor the Cleo? Is the AG the Cleo? No. It's calling the historical aspect of the office of sheriff, and he calls them as he sees them, and we are the Cleo. Why are we the Cleo? Because we were directly appointed by the power source. We the people. We work for them. We answer to them. We are paid by them. And they are our boss. The answer to the Cleo's challenge must be sought in historical understanding and practice and in the jurisprudence of this court. Do you understand what he's saying there? History bears it out that the sheriff is the Clio. And not only do the enactments of early Congresses, as far as we are aware, contain no evidence of an assumption that the federal government may command the state's executive power. The executive power, the sheriffs are part of the executive branch. Command the state's executive power in the absence of a particularized constitutional authorization. They contain some indication of precisely the opposite assumption. We do not answer to the federal government. Folks, this is so powerful. And then, of course, next in the booklet is the threat of arrest, that the federal government threatened to arrest us if we failed to comply. Folks, you've got to get these. This is the most powerful 10th Amendment case in the history of America. It's the most powerful state sovereignty case in the history of America. And it is the only time in U.S. history where sheriffs did this, where the Clios were the complainants. Oh my gosh. Oh, dear me. Folks, if somebody did this lawsuit and it came out just a couple of weeks ago, the patriot community, the freedom fighter community would be going crazy. They would be thrilled. What difference does it make if it came out June of 1997 or 2 weeks ago? You should be thrilled to have this. It hasn't been changed. It hasn't been altered. It hasn't been undone. Not one iota. And so I love it where Scalia brings up the Federalist Papers, and he's quoting Federalist Paper, what I'm going to quote to you right now. It says, hence, a double security arises to the rights of the people. Folks, wait a minute, time out. How is it that a double security arises to the rights of the people? How does that happen? He tells us, continuing quote from Federalist. Let's see, Federalist, what Federalist was it? I believe it was 51. Okay. It was Federalist 51 at 323. And I don't know what 323 means. It was paragraph or line or sentence, or maybe it's got it numbered in there. I'm not sure what 323, but Federalist number 51 it says the Federalist number 51 at 323. Hence, a double security arises to the rights of the people. How does that happen, my good friends? Back to quoting. Because, quoting, the different governments will control each other. Did you hear what I said? The different governments will control each other. Tina was doing just what she's supposed to. Her branch in the county government, her office, was trying to make sure the other offices weren't cheating, and especially the state, the Attorney General, the Secretary of State, the people in charge of the elections. Well, she was in charge of the election in her county and securing the ballots. Man, you can't let that crime go, can you? Are you kidding? That's a crime? So the corruption was so obvious on this, and that Tina was being made an example of, that it's really hard to fathom this. We're all so very sorry, Tina. You shouldn't be there. You don't deserve to be there. We hope that you don't get discouraged. We hope you are well. And we're praying for you. We are supporting you. And we believe in you. and we believe in what you did. And I don't care if you did it to be famous, like the prosecutor said. Uh, uh, they had to really stretch to find that motive, didn't they? What a bunch of jackasses. The different governments, folks. Let's say this again. How is it that there's a double security to the rights of the people? The different governments will control each other at the same time that each will be controlled by itself. Does it get much more powerful than that? This decision does, folks. Scalia actually quotes the founding fathers within the Federalist Papers, and I'll bet you can't show two other decisions in the history of America where the Supreme Court actually quotes the Federalist Papers. This is astonishing, folks. This is a miracle. This decision was an absolute miracle. And every one of you should get this. Everyone in America should have this. Order as many as you can. Look, they're only, okay. Am I trying to get, what's my motive for telling you to do that? Because I'm going to get rich and I'm going to buy a condo in Hawaii. Yeah. Thanks, Apollo. We know that I'm going to sell so many of these that, 3 for $5. Let's see, what does that make them? About $1? No, $1.50. Okay, $1.25. I don't know. I don't care. But we don't get to order a bunch of them because we don't. We order maybe 5,000 at a time, 3,000 at a time. But there's plenty there right now, folks, and we need to order more. We will. And you're going to be astonished by this. It's an absolute miracle. Read it and then tell me it's not a miracle. So many miracles happened. So many epiphanies happened to me and my wife that made this happen. It's absolutely astonishing. So the story I was going to get back to is that, get this, folks, there's a sheriff in Iowa. His name is Sheriff Dan Marks. Now, he came out publicly and said that he was going to support Tom Homan and the president in their deportation. But he gave a caveat. He made an exception. He said, I will not cooperate with ICE if there's only a detainer. I don't see where a detainer is constitutional. There must be a signed warrant according to the Fourth Amendment. And this guy has had my class. I talked to him just recently. I'm not sure I agree with what he's saying. I think a detainer might be. I'm not sure. I don't know. But if ICE has a detainer, or if another sheriff in another county told me, hey, I want the guy that you have in your jail. I'm pretty sure he committed a crime here, and we want him here for an interrogation. I'd probably let him just come and get him, unless the suspect says, I'm not going to be extradited to another jurisdiction or to another state or wherever. It's his right to do it. Am I the one that's supposed to say, well, do you want an extradition? I don't think it's up to me. But I do know the FBI didn't do a single extradition on all the J6ers that were arrested all over the country. Arresting somebody in California and then bringing them back to Washington, D.C., that's pretty much a required extradition. But who's supposed to require it? Who's supposed to speak up about it? I would say the suspect, the arrestee, yeah, sure. And why not everybody else who swore an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution? So there you have it. So Sheriff Dan Marks is now being attacked, sued by his AG because he wants to make sure Sheriff Marks is doing what he's told by the state who passed a law saying that we will cooperate with deportation. Now let's look at the dichotomy there. Sheriff Dale Wagner in Adams County, Washington. The state of Washington, very liberal, very extremist, leftist, liberal, very socialistic. King County has already undone the election of sheriffs and now appoint the sheriff. Why? Because too many sheriffs were standing for what's right during COVID-19 mandates, and they refused to do it. So they didn't want a sheriff that would be elected who answers to the people. So they're getting rid of that. That's not the only place either. It's being proposed in some places in and around Denver, probably Denver, but and all around the country. St. Charles, Missouri now appoints the sheriff. Why not, folks? Because vapid politicians and corrupt politicians do not want the Cleos, the sheriffs of each county, doing what they think is right. They want them to follow orders. Oh, folks, come on now. Are you following this? The AG of Washington State is now suing Sheriff Wagner of Adams County because he wants to cooperate, and he's already been cooperating, and a few other sheriffs in Washington are as well. So they're making Wagner the scapegoat and making him an example. They're turning him into Tina Peters, and they're suing A.G. Brown is his name in Washington, and he's suing the sheriff because he's saying he's not allowed to cooperate with ICE because we passed a law here saying he can't do it. Ugh. And you know what, folks? The sheriffs in both places are right. They are correct. Because of this. It's funny, isn't it? If no sheriff, if a sheriff in any county of this country does not want to cooperate with Tom Homan, he doesn't have to. All 67 sheriffs in Florida are cooperating, even the Democrats, even a few who announced, even a couple of Republicans who announced they would not cooperate. They had a meeting with all the sheriffs together with the governor, and after that meeting, they all decided that they would be cooperating. How could any sheriff say, no, I'm not going to cooperate. I want all these criminals here. I want all the Tren de Aragua gangs here. I want the international terrorists here. They're welcome in our counties. And oh, these little crimes about raiding and taking over apartment complexes in Aurora and other places in Colorado. Oh, that wasn't too bad. And all the rapes and all the murders and all the ambush situations on cops across the country and beating up cops in downtown New York City in broad daylight. I wish I had been there that day. I wouldn't have stood by and watched. I would have got in and helped those cops. I don't care what it took. I would have helped. I really wish I would have had two or three of my sons there with me, because my youngest used to be a cage fighter. And he would have cleared that street out but quick. Oh, I wish he would have been there. But folks, no sheriff can be told what to do by the federal government. My case was about that. The federal government can't do it. My case does not say the state government can't do it, but they can't do it either. Why do I know that, folks? Because the sheriff, this is a constitutional republic. That's why. And the sheriff is appointed by we the people. Tina Peters was chosen by we the people. She doesn't answer to the Secretary of State. There might be some rules there in elections that she's supposed to follow. Okay, I get that. But the sheriff, he already has the criminal code in front of him. Yeah, he's supposed to follow that. Does he have to follow every one of them? Okay, question. The sheriff or one of his deputies sees somebody run a stop sign, bad, almost hits a kid. Does the sheriff have to take action, or does that deputy have to stop the person and give him a ticket? No. He doesn't have to do anything if he doesn't want to. He can turn his siren on and lights and scare them. Say, don't do that again. Or he can give them a verbal warning, or he can give them a written warning, or he can write them a ticket, or do nothing. And nobody can do anything about that. Even the sheriff. He can tell his deputies to write those, but you can't force it. And there's this thing that's called police discretion. And what kind of action I take is up to me. Now, the sheriff can train him and say, hey, if you see somebody do something like that, you better dang well write him a ticket. He can give that order. But that doesn't mean when I'm out there by myself and I see it again, that I don't do anything. Many of you have seen this. Well, I saw a guy speeding and the cop passed him and didn't do anything. Well, maybe the cop was on the way to another call. You're not supposed to stop traffic violations when you're on a call to a drowning or another emergency situation. And sometimes cops aren't going to be going what they call code 3, lights and siren. They're not going to do that all the time. If it's a serious traffic accident, they're supposed to go code 3, lights and siren. Sometimes they go with just lights. And sometimes they're told, just get there as quick as you can with no lights or siren. That means they're trying not to alert someone that they're coming. The suspect will run away if they hear the siren. So it just depends on the situation, folks. So somebody will come and complain to me, well, I saw one of your deputies and they didn't do anything to somebody. He was on another call, probably. That's why. So, people don't know law enforcement ins and outs, and that's going to happen. So, folks, I want you to know Sheriff Wagner is doing the right thing. I agree that the sheriffs of this country, and we've put this out nationwide, sheriffs should be cooperating because it's a proper law enforcement tactic that we should be doing. No sheriff should want these criminals that the Biden administration not just allowed into America, but facilitated the invasion of America with these gangs from all over Latin America and the terrorists from all over the Middle East. There are Russian dissidents here by the tens of thousands. There are Chinese dissidents here by the tens of thousands. And all of us can thank Joe Biden and the Democrats for bringing them in. Why did they? Folks, it was so they could get registered to vote. That's the mens rea. That's the criminal intent in this particular subversive plan by the Democrat Party. Yes, it was done by the Democrat Party, and Joe Biden was doing what he was told to do. They said it'd be easy. Biden shouldn't be president anyway. We'll get him in there somehow, and he'll be easy to sacrifice because nobody likes him, and he's sick anyway. He's demented. He's got Parkinson's, and he won't win re-election anyway. We'll get him replaced and try to get somebody in there that can continue the great work that Joe Biden had been doing. Oh my gosh. Sick. So our hats off to Sheriff Marks. Our hats off to Sheriff Wagner in Washington. Remember, Marks is in Iowa. And we plan to have a big event. And we hope that all of you will contribute to us having this big event in Washington State. Sheriff Marks will fly over and be there to speak. And we will send this message nationwide, but especially to all the press and every person and every public official in Washington. The sheriff does not answer to you, Mr. Attorney General Brown. He does not answer to the governor. Should they meet and talk and see about what they could do to work together? Absolutely. Does he have to do what they say? Absolutely not. He answers to the people, and that we, the people, choose our representatives is what makes us, one, in charge of our government, and two, in charge of our public officials. We choose who represents us. We choose our Clio. We choose the sheriff, and he answers to us. And we are the only ones that can fire him, and we are the only ones that can hire him. appoint him and review his job every 4 years to see if we want to keep him. Oh, folks, do we get it? I'm not sure we do. Okay, so what would you do right now, folks? What would you want to ask President Donald J. Trump? Well, I have my list. I have a few things I'd like to ask him. Do I support Trump? Yes. Did I donate to his campaign? Yes. He had a fundraiser at the Ahern Hotel in Las Vegas. What's the Ahern Hotel? A really nice hotel just west of the Strip on Sahara. And it is not a casino, has no gaming whatsoever, and there's no smoking. And it's a very conservative, great family. The Ahern family owns it and runs it. And I've met them, and they're wonderful people. And I've met the hotel manager, McDonald, and they treat us great. We've had several events there. If it doesn't work with us meeting in Washington sometime in May or June, then we might just switch it to Vegas and have it at the Ahern. So again, folks, we need your donations to make that happen. CSPOA.org. That's where you make all your donations. Or send us gold, cash, or check to CSPOA, P.O. Box 567. Folks, that's easy. 567. 567. P.O. Box 567. Higley. It sounds like Pigley, or Wiggly, but it's Higley, 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 Arizona. 85236. 85236. Folks, you can find that P.O. Box on our website as well. But thank you for letting me do that advertisement. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And so, what do you want to ask President Trump? First, I would ask him, why hasn't DOGE recommended that we stop paying tax dollars to Planned Parenthood? That has got to be the most evil expenditure ever done. It is the epitome of corruption of Washington, D.C. We've been doing that for now about 20 years. It's now over $700 million a year that goes to this corrupt organization, a private organization, not a government organization. It provides no government service whatsoever. And the politicians have arranged with these people to send them 700 million tax dollars every year for abortions. And then what do they do with it? They send it back in donations to the people who sent it to them. Folks, if you don't think that's about the most corrupt thing ever when it comes to spending, then I guess we're lost, because it is. And we're not talking about getting rid of abortion. We're talking about getting rid of corrupt spending. I have a national organization, folks, the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association. We believe in protecting and defending civil rights of all people. We believe that the sheriffs have an ultimate responsibility to protect life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and all of God's children's godly rights, God-given rights. Civil rights. We're the number one organization in America to protect civil rights. No, don't tell me NAACP. No, they're a branch of the Democrat Party now. Okay? They do not advocate Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech. They don't. They don't go with that anymore. We do. Yes, we do. Martin Luther King is quoted in my presentation that I do nationwide. Anybody who's been to my presentation can vouch for that. Also, we have a video of Rosa Parks being arrested. And what should we do about that? So my first one, because of life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, life is the number one tenet listed in the Declaration of Independence. That's our job, is to protect life, liberty second, and pursuit of happiness third, which is the same as exercising my liberty. And so, folks, How have we done protecting life? What was it, 400,000 baby kills, baby murders every year. And since abortion was legalized or bastardized in our country, it's 40 million or so worldwide. It's too crazy to fathom. It's just unimaginable, unbelievable. And so I want to ask, why isn't there more being done about that? And I know Trump wants to get rid of it. Why are we moving slow on that, Mr. President? That's the number one thing that government's supposed to be doing, protecting life. We're behind you on this. Let's do it. Maybe you're looking for the right time. I don't know. But for me, it's time. It's time, Mr. President. And the second thing I would ask is, why haven't we abolished the IRS? Why haven't we abolished the Federal Reserve? It's not supposed to be there. It says in the Constitution that Congress is supposed to coin money and establish the value thereof, not private bankers who've been appointed to be in charge of. We've established a central bank, and Jefferson warned us to never do that. And so to abdicate that responsibility to private banks, and you can look that up. The Federal Reserve is a bunch of private banksters, and they have no business being in charge of our money. And so that's the next one. And folks, remember just a few weeks ago, they were talking about doing an audit. This came from Musk himself, an audit of the gold that's supposed to be in Fort Knox. And then did you see all the news stories about banks in Europe sending all this gold back to America? Were they trying to fill the Fort Knox coffers? What happened after that? Where's the audit? I wanted the cameras to go inside Fort Knox and show where our gold is supposed to be. Do you know why the gold is supposed to be there, folks? It's supposed to be the gold that backs our dollar, that makes our dollar not worth paper, but worth gold. That was the whole idea. Oh, you can have paper money as long as it's backed by gold. When was the last time we verified that the gold was there? And folks, if it's not there, do you know what's going to happen to the dollar? And maybe that's why they don't want to show what's there, because it's not there, and the dollar would devalue tomorrow. Do you know why Zimbabwe has a $50 trillion bill that doesn't even buy a loaf of bread? Because it's not backed by anything of value. Why Latin American countries, including El Salvador, it used to be the colon, C-O-L-O-N, colon. The real last name in Spanish for Christopher Columbus, Cristobal Colon. The colon is supposed to be there. So, folks, those are the things I would ask Trump. I would also finish my questioning of President Trump or Elon Musk or both with, you are doing a fantastic job. We're behind you, even though Ron Paul is not, and 3 other Republicans, but Collins and Murkowski, they're not Republicans. And Mitchell, of course, what a joke. But Ron Paul is supposed to be knowing what he's talking about, and he's wrong on this. Senator Paul, you're wrong on this. We're supposed to just let the countries that are charging us exorbitant tariffs and not get some reciprocity there. That's all this is. And we're behind on this. We're behind on the trade war. And trade should benefit everyone. Trade is what started an economy in the world, but it can't be one-sided. Dr. Paul or Senator Paul from Kentucky, who did nothing for Sam Girard when he was given 6 years in prison. Folks, those of you who love Rand Paul, let me tell you right now, the Amish farmer I was working with got 6 years in prison, and I took it to Rand Paul's office, and I took it to him personally at a fundraiser out here in Arizona, and I spent $250 for a little hors d'oeuvre dinner at a senatorial candidate just so I could talk to Rand Paul personally. And I talked to him. And I told him about Sam Girard. Senator Paul, you did nothing to help him. And now I want to know, the other thing I would have asked Trump, how soon can you please get the investigation going to help Tina Peters? And how can you get a pardon for Sheriff Scott Jenkins in Culpeper County, Virginia? Folks, any of you who have any context, call your congressman, call your senators, and ask them to get Trump to pardon Sheriff Scott Jenkins. He got sentenced to 10 years. He has to report in 10 days to 2 weeks to prison. He is a good man. His conviction makes me tear up and livid that this government keeps doing so many corrupt things. Folks, he needs it as much as Tina does. He's got over 10 years in prison, could be 10 to 15, and there is no victim of what he did whatsoever. It was the corrupt Biden FBI that went after him, and it was corrupt prosecutors and corrupt judges that made this happen to this good man. Sheriff Scott Jenkins is one of the best constitutional sheriffs in America. He lost his job over this. He's lost everything over this except his family. They have stuck with him because they know who he is. He has not lost me either because I know who he is. Folks, we can't let this corruption stay. We can't let him go to prison. Do you know what it's like for a sheriff or a cop to go to prison around the gangs that would love to take out a cop or a sheriff? And they'll make fun of him too. What'd you do? Hey, copper. Hey, pig. What did you do? I took campaign donations from people and then I gave them a position on my posse. Okay, and? No, that's it. Who's a victim? None of those people are victims. Nobody was forced to give money to the campaign. Yeah, some of them were given positions on the posse. So some of them were just honorary. They didn't do anything with the posse. Oh, wow. So who's the victim? Who did it hurt? Not a damn soul. And folks, just like I said, we sell badges and wallets. It says right on the badge, CSPOA Posse. They are very beautiful. They're very authentic. And yeah, you can have one. And it's a thank you for donating to us. You don't want to donate? Don't donate. If you want to become a member, become a member. That's only $99 a year or $11 a month. Do we need your help? Yes, we do. Let me tell you this again. If Tina had a constitutional sheriff in Mesa, Colorado, she would not be in prison right now. A constitutional sheriff would have blocked us. He would have put himself in the way because what happens? Hence, a double security arises to the rights of the people. The different governments will control each other. And folks, I'm going to close with that. God bless Tina Peters and God bless Sheriff Scott Jenkins and God bless his good wife, Patty, and their entire family. God bless all of you. We're praying for you. I don't know why more people haven't done more to stop this. Steve Bannon, please get this in front of Trump. General Flynn, please get this in front of Trump. Ted Nugent, please get this in front of Trump. Mike Lindell, please get this in front of Trump. Pardon Sheriff Scott Jenkins. Let's do our duty and let's get these people back to freedom and liberty into America. This is still land of the free, home of the brave. And folks, it's our country. We have a duty and a right to stop injustice in this country. That's our job. That's what we're supposed to be doing. Thanks for being with us. Thanks for letting me substitute for you, Tina. This is the Tina Peters Show, and it's sponsored today by CSPOA, Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association. Thanks so much, everybody. Good night. This is Sheriff Mack for Tina Peters.
Hi, Tina Peters here.
See, today they go after you if you're investigating, that sort of thing.